Welcome, my friends. What if I told you the man who created Apple, the most valuable company in the world, was once a college dropout with no money, who slept on the floor of his friends' rooms and walked 7 miles every Sunday, just to get one good meal at a Hare Krishna temple? He had no office, no big team, and no clear path to success. He was a seeker, a young man looking for the meaning of life in the middle of California. But he had one thing that changed his life: a vision to see the future before it happened. This is not a motivational speech. This is not fiction. This is real. Today you will hear the story of a man who started in a wooden garage and changed how the whole human race communicates, works, and dreams. He built an empire, lost everything in a public humiliation, and had the courage to start over from nothing. But why should you listen to this story? Because this is not just about technology, silicon chips, or billions of dollars. This is a story about the human spirit and the power of intuition. This story will teach you how to follow your heart when everyone says you are wrong, how to stand alone when the world doesn't understand your dream. And yes, this story will also improve your English. How? Because you are not just watching a video. You are feeling it. You are living inside a story of passion. That's the secret to fluency. Not grammar books, not boring vocabulary lists, but real stories with real emotion told in easy, clear, and powerful English. So listen closely, because this video might not just teach you English. It might change the way you look at your own future. Now, let's begin the story of the man who dared to think different. Part 2. The Dropout. Even as a child, he wanted more than a normal life. He would stare at the machines and think, is there a way to make this more beautiful? When he was around 17 years old, he went to Reed College, an expensive school. But after only 6 months, he felt like a prisoner. He didn't see the value in spending his parents' life savings on classes that didn't inspire him. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, and he didn't see how college was going to help him find out. So one day he secretly dropped out. It was a scary decision. He had no dorm room, so he slept on the floor in his friends' rooms. He returned Coke bottles for 5-cent deposits to buy food. Every Sunday night, he walked 7 miles across town to the temple just to get one good meal a week. He loved it. Much of what he stumbled into by following his curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. For example, he took a calligraphy class just because he liked the beauty of the letters. It seemed useless at the time, but 10 years later, when he was designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to him. He designed it into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If he had never dropped out, he would have never dropped in on this calligraphy class. And personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. This was the first time life told him to trust his gut. Part 3. The Garage and the Empire. A few years later, at the age of 21, Steve decided to try something crazy. He went back to his parents' garage with his friend Steve Wozniak. They had a big idea and no money. They wanted to build a personal computer, a tool for the mind. People laughed. Why would a normal person want a computer in their home? They asked. But Steve didn't listen. He didn't have a factory or a bank loan. So, what did he do? He worked. No phone, no fancy furniture. Just the belief that a small circuit board could change the world forever. They sold their most valuable possessions, a calculator and a van, to get the money they needed. They worked from sunrise to sunset until their eyes were tired and their backs hurt. Steve was obsessed with every detail. After months of hard work in that cold garage, Apple was born. Within 10 years, Apple grew from just 2 guys in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. Part 4. The Great Fall. But then, the unthinkable happened. At the peak of his success, when he was 30 years old, the company he created fired him. How can you get fired from the company you started? As Apple grew, he hired someone he thought was talented to run the company with him. But their visions of the future began to diverge. The board of directors sided with the other man. Steve was out. He was publicly humiliated. Everything he had worked for was gone. He was a failure in the eyes of the world. He even thought about running away from Silicon Valley. Many people would have given up and gone back to a quiet life, but not Steve. Something slowly began to dawn on him. He still loved what he did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. He had been rejected, but he was still in love. He wiped his tears and realized his hunger was still there. He said, "They can take my office, they can take my title, but they cannot take my fire." This was the start of his most creative period. He started Nex and Pixar, which created the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Nex, and Steve returned. He used the technology he developed during his time away to save Apple from bankruptcy. Part 5. The Legacy. He simplified everything. He brought beauty back to technology. He launched the iMac, the iPod, and then the iPhone. He didn't just build products, he built icons. He proved that one person with a clear vision can indeed change the world. But life had one more test. Steve faced a battle with his health. It was a final reminder that our time is limited. He told the world, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice." He worked until his final days, obsessed with making every detail perfect. He died a legend, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire every dreamer who dares to think they can change the world. So, when you feel like you are failing, remember the boy in the garage. Trust that the dots will somehow connect. Stay hungry, stay foolish,